Naamsa's SA Auto Week is the largest trade show of its kind in South Africa. This year, Cars.co.za was the official media partner of the event, and we set up this rather stylish podcast studio. Our very own Ciro de Siena and guest journalist from CNBC Africa, Fifi Peters, played hosts and over 3 days interviewed all the key figures in South Africa's motoring industry. Hello and welcome back to the Cars.co.za podcast studio, built specifically for South African Auto Week here in Cape Town at the CTICC. My name is Ciro de Siena and I am absolutely delighted. It is a privilege and an honor to have Mr. Billy Tom, President of Naamsa and President of Isuzu Motors South Africa. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, Ciro, and great to be here.
It's wonderful to have you here. I've been looking forward to this all day, so thank you very, very much for your time. Now, just before we came on air, you told me a very funny story about something I said in a video 6 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's about 6 years ago. I think we're excited to launch this new model, and it was never in an Isuzu. And then you tested it and you made a comment that you wouldn't talk about 0 to 100 because it just doesn't cut it. And I still haven't recovered.
Oh, goodness me. That was the first MUX. If it helps at all, in my defense, it's a car that I recommend to a lot of people, actually. They're actually quite hard to find. I think owners hang on to them.
Yeah. I mean, both our buckies and trucks, the owners tend to hang into them quite a lot. And I mean, I've been seeing quite a number of the first generation MUXs still running around and people are happy with them.
Yeah. No, it was a solid car. It was a really, really solid car. So MUX obviously still important to Isuzu with the new generation and then, of course, the D-Max as well. But Isuzu has a long history in South Africa, 45 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, we've been building Isuzus for 45 years. And before that, they used to come, remember the Chevrolet LUV. That was the first one. I think it was first built in 1972. And then in 1978, we changed and then built it in Isuzu badge now. And both petrol and diesel.
So is Strindale responsible for D-Max and then is MUX brought in as one piece, as a whole?
Yeah, the MUX is fully imported.
Yeah.
We don't have the volumes, but the D-Max is built in Strindale.
Yeah. And it's interesting to me that Isuzu doesn't have a particularly wide range of vehicles. However, you do sell a very good number of vehicles every month. Every time I look at the sales charts, I'm like, oh, there we go. Isuzu's having, you consistently have good months.
Look, we're very focused, and there's only one thing we sell. It's a Isuzu. All you have to choose is, am I looking for a single cab, extended cab, or double cab? And I always compare ourselves as one of the banks. I'll mention the name Capitec Bank. I always say we're the Capitec Bank of the auto industry. Because if you go there, you find one card. And Isuzu, it's the same thing. But what this has done, Ciro, for us is it gave the salesperson huge focus. It gave Isuzu the opportunity, because when we were sold before under a different name, we were part of a portfolio. Now all you have is Isuzu, so you give it a full go. And we've seen it in the market share as well. I think when we started operating as Isuzu, we were probably about 12-13%, and we've moved that number. We're close to 20 now. So that focus has meant a lot for us.
I can see that, yeah, and it seems to be paying dividends. And it wasn't easy for you because I think you took over just before COVID, if I'm not mistaken.
In fact, I took over at the heart of COVID because I signed my contract of employment 2 days before the country went on lockdown.
Wow.
I've never signed a contract so quickly. I got the contract, printed it, signed it. I only looked at the details later. And then I had to move from Joburg to PE. And I went through 7 roadblocks. It was like I'm in a different country. And then when I started working, I couldn't meet the people. And when I met them, they were in masks, so I didn't really know some of the faces, how they looked like. And I had to find ways of introducing myself. I mean, I remember creating an 8-minute video from my previous leaders and some people I've worked with, because I wanted to I wanted people to know who I am and remember that some of the challenges you have is I was the first black leader, so some people have never experienced that. And also my peers within the automotive industry, because I'm not from the auto industry. So I had to set up teams to meet my colleagues within the Naamsa ecosystem, my own team, and it took a few months to meet some of the colleagues, but there were some good learnings coming out of that. One of them was trust, because you worked with people that were sitting at home and you trusted that they're going to do the work, and also the use of technology. And one story for me that I still tell people about, during the pandemic, if you recall, we couldn't fly out of the country. I think it was between March and October. So we were busy preparing for the next generation Bakkie. So we couldn't fly our people out. So what you had to do were to buy things online, look at it online, and then we decide we're going to buy this type of equipment. Because normally what you do, you fly people overseas, they look at the machine in action, then buy it off. We had to buy the machines,
Wow.
bring them to South Africa, and I think we were 5 minutes late on the program. It shows the ability of the South African people. And the Japanese were surprised when we did the launch and the good workmanship on that vehicle.
Wow. And I suppose you couldn't fly anyone out, and they couldn't fly anyone in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The first time they came to South Africa was when we launched it on the 6th of April, 2022. That's the first time they saw it.
Wow. That's quite a story. Eh? I can really sympathize because I grew up in the restaurant game. My dad had restaurants, and for some reason that wasn't enough to put me off trying to open my own one. So my launch party was on March the 4th, 2020, and then March the 23rd, I think the lockdown got announced. So I opened that restaurant also just before the pandemic, and it was tough. It was really tough, but it toughened me up. It made me stronger, more resilient, I suppose. Chatting about South Africa post-COVID, it feels like now we're in a downward cycle in the interest rate cuts as well, potentially. Do you feel like there's positive sentiment coming back into the market?
Yeah, probably. Let me start off by 2023. I think in 2023, what had to go wrong went wrong. If you think of it from the 1st of January to the 7th of May, the load shedding we had on those 5 months was more than the whole of 2022 put together. So load shedding was bad. And then if you look at the issues we had with the logistics, I mean, in September last year, we had 70,000 containers waiting to be offloaded. So things just went wrong. I mean, we were coming out of supply of chip shortages. Remember, 2021, we had floods in Durban where the market leader couldn't produce, and that affects the whole market. So last year was just a spillover, and the interest rates were the highest in 14 years. And come 2024, I mean, who thought of a government of national unity? We had a government of national unity. The rand strengthened. I think now these days we're looking at going below 16, below 17. And we look at, I think fuel price has gone up 4 or 5 times, and inflation is at its best, and we had the first rate reduction. I think everybody is upbeat, but I think it takes, in my view, it takes probably 3 to 6 months before we start seeing the improvement. I think that the sentiments are very high. I mean, business is already talking about 3.3% growth. So my view is probably the first quarter of next year is going to be a fantastic quarter, because it takes 2 or 3 rate reductions for you to start feeling the impact.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to next month as a monetary committee meeting, and I'm hoping for a 50 basis point reduction, not 25.
Yes, me too. You know, when it comes to vehicle manufacturing, it's tough. It's a really difficult industry. There's a lot of literally moving parts. There's a lot of labor involved as well, skilled labor as well. I was very lucky to have a tour of the VW plant last year. They really took me through it. It was something to see. And I think that the overwhelming feeling I got when I was walking through that plant was a feeling of hope for this country, that we really are capable of some amazing things. And it's just that I suppose the car manufacturing in South Africa is just a really good story.
It is definitely a good story. I mean, this morning when I spoke, I was reflecting on the last 30 years, And if you look at what that policy certainty did, I mean, 94 we were not exporting cars. From 95 we started exporting cars. I think we've exported over 14 million cars. The value is 1.7 trillion rands.
Wow.
For cars. I mean, that's a lot. And if you look at components, I think components is just under 600 billion. And you think of the countries we're exporting to, about 148 countries. And I mean, some of the manufacturers here, like VW, they're the sole supplier for Polo around the world. I think they used to compete with Spain, and Spain has stopped. They're the sole. BMW X3, Ford. So it's a proud story for South Africa. I think that certainty of legislation has really made it possible. But again, it shows what the country is able to do.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, will Isuzu be embracing new energy vehicle tech in the future?
Yeah, no, definitely, Chiro. For instance, on the commercial vehicles, I think about 3 months ago, we brought a battery vehicle in South Africa. We've been displaying it. Not sure whether it is here, but in other areas in South Africa, we've taken it around. So we are looking at that. Earlier in the year, Isuzu made an announcement as well about the full battery electrical vehicle on the bakkie. Because I think it's next year that Norway is going to ban ICE engines. So I think the first market Isuzu wants to go to is Norway. Probably next year we're going to Norway. Probably the next one might be Australia. But as South Africans, we've been saying, when you go to Australia, we want to consider and have a look, especially for the early adopters in the country. So definitely it is something that's on the radar.
And how do you think the average South African bakkie buyer might respond to, say, a PHEV Isuzu D-Max, for instance?
Look, I think it's going to be the early adopters that will probably take it first. It's similar. I mean, when we launched 2 years ago a low displacement vehicle, we were worried because we had vehicles. I mean, South Africans like their high displacement vehicles, but the small displacement vehicle, the 1.9, I mean, has done wonders for us. So people were quite happy. I think with the new battery electrical vehicle, people have had that confidence within Isuzu.
Yeah.
But I think Isuzu, as well as a company, has always been measured in how they approach the things. They've not rushed. I think there's some people say we're conservative, but my view is we measured because we don't want to disappoint customers.
I think there's a lot of trust in your brand. I know, for instance, I mean, it's anecdotal, but my uncle, my wonderful guy, Irish guy, unfortunately passed on, but he would only buy Isuzu. That's it. That was the only bakkie he would consider. He trusted that brand to the nth degree. So there's definitely a sentiment out there that you can trust in Isuzu bakkie.
No, definitely. I mean, we've had good reputation. I always make a joke and I say to people, when you're traveling on the freeway and you see a tow truck, chances are you will never see an Isuzu on a tow truck. It will be the Isuzu the other way around, towing other vehicles. So we've really built it. And also, one of the key things, I mean, probably we don't talk enough about it, is the emphasis we put on local engineering. I mean, before we launch a vehicle, and that was part of the delay we had in 2022, because we do about 84,000 kilometers of in-country validation before we launch a vehicle. We really want to ensure that it is geared for the local conditions. I mean, we put a lot of emphasis. We've got a very good team of engineers in South Africa, based in Gqeberha, and they do quite a good job. So that talks to that reliability.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but Thailand is where you source your gearboxes, your engines from. Those get shipped over, and then everything is the rest is manufactured here and all put together and sold.
Yes.
And do you export anywhere from Stranda?
Yeah, no, we export to the rest of the African continent.
Okay.
Just under 30 countries we export.
Oh, wow.
Left and right hand drive. That market since 2019, Chiro, we've almost doubled our volumes. We've taken a big bet on Africa. I think we've even separated the sales teams to ensure that we focus. Because our view is, I mean, I've spoken about it even today, the Africans are not trading with each other. It's very easy for you to send stuff out of the continent, but there's a huge opportunity. I mean, if you look at the European Union, 80% intra-trade, and in Africa it's only at 15%. And
Wow.
there's huge opportunities. And when we visit various countries, you can see some product coming from outside the continent. And we've taken a view that we the anchor for Isuzu in Africa, and we want to grow this business. And it's been responding very positive.
Wow. So Bucky's built here make it to 30 African countries.
Yes.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's really good. And in your role as president of Naamsa, I imagine that there's a lot of dialogue between yourself and government.
No, definitely. I mean, we talk. One thing unique about Naamsa, I mean, outside of Naamsa, we compete. I mean, I want to take market share from my colleague from the other OEMs. but when we talk as Naamsa, it's about SA Incorporated. Because if you look at South Africa, I mean, we're less than 1% of the global manufacturing. So we need to ensure that we grow that to 1%. Because if you look at some 2035, we're talking about growing it to over 1%. Because the minute you grow that manufacturing, then you're going to create employment, then you're going to create value. And that's the role we play with government. When we meet, the interest is in the auto sector. Because if you look at Australia, I mean, no vehicles are built in Australia. You can imagine the jobs that were lost there, but also the skills. I mean, to me, if you look at the salaries that are earned by the people, it's good salaries. So we play a key role in South Africa's economy. I mean, this is 5% of the GDP. So that's why when we have discussions with government, those are the things that we raise. I mean, even tomorrow we'll meet the minister. I think we've had a good social system, and we want to continue with it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I mean, I can certainly say that I appreciate your efforts, and we appreciate your efforts here at Cars.co.za. And I wish you all the best for your discussions with government, and I hope they are fruitful. And just as a parting note, what can South Africans look forward to from the Isuzu brand, say, over the next 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, I think on the truck side, I mean, we've introduced a CNG truck. We're looking for more opportunities of bringing newer ones. And probably in the next 12 months, we will be doing a mid-cycle announcement on the D-Max, where we'll do some facelift. On the MUX also, I mean, there is a new sexier MUX. Watch the space. You'll be the first to know.
Awesome.
And once again, thanks a lot for the opportunity to join you guys.
No, it's such a pleasure. It really is. It's always great chatting to you. Thank you so much for your time. Mr. Billy Tom, President of Naamsa and President of Isuzu Motors South Africa, an absolute privilege and an honor to have you here. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. This has been another podcast in a wider series of podcasts from SA Auto Week. We'll link to the others in the description below. Otherwise, check it out on our channel page. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Chira De Siena, and I will catch you on the next one. Thank you. Bye.